do the recording, is it? It is not like that, right? Yeah, fine. Okay, good evening, one and all here. So today it is the turn from Ms. Gauri Bulneni. She is Associate Software Engineer from West Pharma Services, West Pharmaceutical Services, India. And she was our alumni, and she was the topper of the batch from CSSC. So she was one of my favorite students, and I hope she too liked me. Okay.
Yes,
But
sir.
the best thing from her side is like she was very silent, and yet she is one of the topper, and even MSET ranker. She was the top ranker in the branch for that batch. Okay, she was the topper. I hope I am right, right,
Yes,
Gauri?
sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I hope I am right. So these things are the good things about her, and the best thing about her is she's silent and hardworking nature, and even intelligent. Okay, so both put together, intelligent and hard work comes very less times in single person, and I need not praise my students so much. Okay, so this is what I feel. Uh, so again, please take up the stage. Your stage is yours, and you can continue with your session. Please feel free to share your experiences with the current job, even during your studies, what you have taken care of, and what others, this your juniors, can take up. Because you are a topper in the batch, I expect you can share some secrets. Okay. And
Sure,
one
sir.
more thing, one more thing I forgot to tell. Okay, she has bagged 6 offers. Not to mention companies, okay, because now she is into some other company. I need not mention the companies now, but she has got 6 offers bagged. So it was the top in CSSC branch at that time. So she joined again for the best package also. I need not mention again about her salary also. Okay. This is about the thing, and now please I ask her to take up. Okay, so what is this data science all about? So this is the perspective. She will talk about her projects also. I hope you do so, Gauri.
Sure, sir.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much. And you can proceed. I have a meet at 6:30. I will be here up to 6:25. Then I will join some other meeting after 6:30. So, Rupesh, any issues, you can call me. Okay. Yeah. Yes, ma. I will again join if I have some time in between. I can join by 7 or so. Otherwise, I will call you back after that. Okay.
Sure, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
sir. No
Thank you.
problem.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, sir. And let me introduce once again. Like, I'm Gauri Balineni, and I was a student of Sri Vidya Niketan, and I'm 2019 passed out under CSSE branch. At the time, sir was our HOD, and he guided a lot. Uh, and currently, I'm into West Pharmaceuticals Limited, working as an associate software engineer under Sitecore e-commerce platform as a web developer. And my interest towards data science also dived me towards that side, and I'm currently working on that as well. So, on this today's lecture, let me share some of my thoughts on data science. Yeah, let's get started. Let me share my screen. Let me know once you all can see my screen.
Could you please share your screen?
Sure. Uh, I think everyone are able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. Just a second. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. No formalities. You can call me Gauri and just you are super senior. Okay. So let me ask you all a question like, what is data science? Don't tell me that data science is our today's topic. Okay, so data science is nothing but it is a broader field, and it is an interdisciplinary field where it comes with a combination of scientific aspects and algorithms, which involves machine learning algorithms as well, and it comes with a deep learning, AI, everything involved in that. So I think you'll be having some questions in your mind like what is difference between data scientists, data analysts, data engineers? So everything, data is common in every field, right? So let me give you clarity on that first. So first, data analyst, in the sense they will be dealing with the data, but they are not the computer programmers, and they don't deal with machine learning algorithms as well. They'll be using some tools like Excel, SAP, and all. So next, data engineer. Data engineer is responsible for data storage and creating a data infrastructure properly and all. So data scientist is the one who does everything on the data, and he derives insights from those data and will do predictions for the future. So this is the data science on the broader perspective. Like, let me tell you what are the steps involved in the data science. Like, the step starts with the data gathering. So in the first step, we'll be gathering data from different sources, and that data can be of various forms. Like, it can be a text data or media data or any kind of data. So once we gather data, we need to clean that data. So that data will be consisting of the missing values, noise in that, right? So we need to treat those missing values as well. So I think like you are aware of, do you have data mining subject?
Yes, ma'am. It's an elective credit.
Okay, so there will be getting some knowledge on treating the missing values as well. Let me tell you once again, like the first thing is like we can ignore the missing values, but that's not the good practice. And second is that if that data is of numerical form, we can fill that missing values using mean, median, mode, or any kind of that. And if that data is categorical, like for example, male, female, if that is of those kind of data, so we'll be filling that missing value with the most occurred class. Like there are more male data, I mean in the column the male class is more, we'll be filling that missing value with the male. So that's how we treat the missing values, and there are many techniques to treat the missing values as well. So now our data is cleaned, and next we'll be transforming that data. So we do have categorical data, right? Like if we ask for country, we'll be getting country name. That is a categorical value. That's not a numerical value. So we need to convert those things and all into numerical format so that we can fed them into the algorithms. So we can do dummy encoding, one hot encoding. There are many techniques where we can convert the categorical values into numerical values, and this is what the transformation involves. And also we can do normalizations on that. So once we prepare this data, we need to analyze our data. There comes exploratory data analysis step. So our data is ready, we can plot it and visualize it so that we can analyze the data, what the data is actually, and then we can fed that data into to our models so that we can derive insights and knowledge from that. I think that is clear, and later we can deploy that model. So whatever in the future also we can give some inputs in that format, and we can predict the output. So now let's see some interesting reports on data science. So in our world, population is getting increased, and so that our data is also getting increased day by day. So currently the daily outputted data is more than 2.5 quintillion bytes. What does it mean by quintillion? In the sense, 1 quintillion byte, it is equal to 10 billion GB. So you can imagine how much data is getting outputted daily. So in the future, it is also said that one person for 1 second, he will generate 1.7 MB of data. So the data is increasing vast day by day. So the data scientist jobs is also increasing more, and it is one of the fastest growing tech occupation today. So tech giants like Facebook, Google, IBM, they are spending some millions of dollars on research and development of data science and their fields like machine learning, artificial intelligence, deep learning, natural language processing, image processing, and all. So they are spending millions of dollars on that. So the demand is increasing day by day. And it is also said that by 2026, 11.5 million jobs will be created for data scientists. And it was according to the survey of US Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this is something about theoretical view of how we can start with the data science. So let's have a demo on that, like practical demo. Let me show you that as well so that you can get some idea on how we can start on that. I'm switching my screen. Let me know once you can see that. Before going to that, let's see what are all the languages we'll be using for, what are all the languages the data scientists will use. So there are 6 top 6 data science programming languages. The first one comes Python. Python is one of the widely used language by the data scientists. It has pre-built libraries as well, which is very useful, and it is one of the top, I should say. And then in Python, we have several libraries like NumPy, Pandas, Scikit-learn, Matplotlib, TensorFlow, Scala, etc. So what does this NumPy do? So NumPy library, as the name itself, it is a numerical Python. It helps to deal with the numerical data. We can do numerical analysis using NumPy library. So next, Pandas. Pandas library, it is used to do data manipulation and all, like array kind of thing, lists and all will be getting in the Pandas. And next, we need to visualize our data, right? So whatever we read, it won't go to our mind easily. So whatever we see visually, that will get stick into our mind. So for that purpose, visualization purpose, we do have Matplotlib libraries and all, Seaborn as well. And also for machine learning algorithms, we have a scikit-learn library as well in the Python. So next come R. R is a language which is developed by statisticians. So it is mainly with mathematics, statistics, and also it can be used for the graphics as well. So JavaScript is an object-oriented language, which is also used for the data science purpose. But we need to have some explicit language for visualizations if we go for JavaScript. And then Scala. Scala is something very modern language. It has invented in 2003 only. And then SQL, I think everyone is aware of SQL, structured query language. Actually, data scientist, this SQL has nothing to do with the data science, but it will help the data scientist to analyze the data. Like in SQL, we can see the data, we can retrieve the data, we can do some analysis on the data, we can manipulate the data. So it will be the helping tool for the data scientist as well. So next comes Julia. Julia is a language which is invented purposefully, because even if we are doing some numerical analysis, the speed will be less, right, in some other languages. But in Julia, it is invented purposefully for numerical analysis to improve the speed as well, for linear algebra, for matrix kind of things and all. And it is used for high performance computational sciences as well. So as I said, we'll be seeing some demo. uh, Let me know once you are able to see my screen, other screen. Rupesh?
We are able to see your Twitter notebook.
Yes, Jupyter Notebook. So this Jupyter Notebook is one of the tool which is used by the data scientist. It is widely used because we'll be inputting some commands, we'll be getting the results then and there. So this is one of the most popular tool used by the data scientist. So here we'll be doing some heart disease prediction. Say for example, we have a data set from the hospital, where we do have some kinds of symptoms and all, and what are all the records from the patients, like his blood sugar level, whether he has some chest pain or not. So all those kind of things, whether he is a male or female, all those kind of things will be getting in the data set, and based on those things we'll be predicting whether he'll be getting heart disease or not. Seems interesting. Okay, so first we'll be starting with importing the libraries. What are all the libraries we need? So at the first, we can't list all the libraries what we need, because while doing the analysis, right, while performing, then only we can get to know what are all the libraries. We can add there, then and there also. So these are all some of the libraries. Then let's see this line. So first we'll input the data set. Okay, this is data set is heart.csv. It is in this location. So this is the command which is used to read that data set. Rupesh, let me get a confirmation, like whether my voice is compatible with whatever I'm showing on the screen.
Yes.
Yes, right? Oh, okay. So here comes the first step. I think be some carefully. I mean, if you miss one step, then for the next step you'll be confusing. Okay, so stay with me. So first, let's analyze the data, like printing with the help of head command. So these are all the things that are there in that data. So what is the person age, what is his gender, like 1 is for male and 0 is for female, and this is CP. These are all some of the medical terms that which we no need to bother about, like cholesterol, fasting blood sugar levels, and so on. And this is our important one, like target. Target 1 says that he has heart disease. Target 0, no heart disease. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I can hear from others as well. No problem. If you have any doubts, right, you can raise it then and there itself. No, not an issue. Okay. So let's get some information on the data set. So we'll be running this command df.info, so that we'll be getting its data types, and do we have any null values? We don't have any null values for any of the columns. Okay. So let's see, it's once again like this command is used to see whether we have null values or not in the respective columns. In no other columns we have null values, so we can go forward. So let's see the count, how many records we have. It is around 303 records we have. So let's see for duplicates, like whether we have any duplicated records, so that we can exclude them. So this is the command, like for dropping the duplicates. What is this keep first? Keep first in the sense we'll be keeping the first record that is occurring. If it is duplicated, the remaining records will be terminated. Only the first record will be there. So let's see the count. Now it is 302. Actually it was 303, right? So there is one duplicated record, so that is dropped here. And next coming to, let's see the shape. Shape says that 302 rows followed by 14 columns. Okay. So if we use this command to describe, describe tells us what is the count for the respective columns. Count, what is the mean for this column, what is the standard deviation, what is the minimum value in that column, what is the maximum value in that column. 50% of the records having average age of 55, 25% of the records having average age of 48, like that kind of thing. Every information will be getting from a single command. Now we have done like we just got some idea on the data set, right? Let's visualize those things as well, so that we can get a clear picture on that. So let's see, like one says that he has a heart disease, 0 means he doesn't have a heart disease. So in the target value, those who have heart disease is more than those who doesn't have heart disease. So if we see the target value count, right, both are okay, like 164, 138. We have records with the people with heart disease and with the people who don't have heart disease. So the records, we have a balanced records. Like say for example, the people who are suffering from heart disease, those records we have only 2 records. The people who doesn't have heart disease, let's say we have 400 records. So 400 is to 2, there is a imbalance of the class, so that if we input any kind of data, it will have some bias, so that it will be predicting towards the class with higher value, like 400 records which has, right, it will be predicting towards that class as well. So here we don't have any kind of class imbalance, it is approximately balanced class. Okay. So next, and also I said, right, 1 is male and 0 is female. So this is the count for the female records, and this is the count for the male records we do have in our data set. And let's see, like for a particular age, say for example 43. So this is the age of the person. This orange color says that the person with the heart disease. This blue color says that people don't have heart disease. So at the age of 43, there is around uh, 4 to 5 people who has heart disease, and there is around 3 people who doesn't have heart disease. Let's take another example as well. At the age of 54, there is around 10 people who are suffering from heart disease, and at the same way there are 6 people who don't have heart disease. This is one of the kind of plot where we can analyze, I mean, where we can perform the group analysis. Okay. So in this plot, right, it shows like red shows that diseased persons, blue shows that who doesn't have heart disease. So this is one of the distribution. And then there is one column like chest pain. So we do have 4 types of chest pains. So these 4 types. So type 1 chest pain, these many people are having positive, means heart disease. They do have heart disease if they have chest pain of type 0. And these many people, like 40 people, they don't have heart disease, even they have chest pain type 0. So these are some of the analysis we can draw by visualizing the data. This is what we call as exploratory data analysis. So let's see what feature engineering means. Feature engineering in the sense, one thing is like feature selection. Say for example, we have many columns, many features. Say for example, 100 features we have. Out of that, we need to predict some column. So we can't use all those columns for our modeling purpose, because we can take only the features that are creating impact on the output. So with the help of feature selection, we can do that, only taking top 20 or 25 features which are contributing more for the target. So here we don't have more features, so let's drop that feature selection. So let's see for the outliers, whether we have any outliers, we can drop them. So here we'll be performing that outliers, whether we do have outliers or not, with the help of standard deviation. And in this step, the outliers are dropped, and now we will be doing normalization. Why do we do normalization? Because in many of the columns, one column will have 63, other column will have like 100 value, another column will have 10,000. Say for example, salary, one person salary will be like 1 lakh per annum, other person salary will be 24 lakhs or 100 lakhs, something like that. So there will be mismatch in that number, so we'll be normalizing that data between certain values. Like here we are normalizing the data between 0 and 1. So all our data will be normalized between these decimals from 0 to 1, so that we can perform the better analysis as well. So now let's divide the data set. Okay, we do have 300 odd records, right? Let's divide the data set into train data set, dev data set, and test data set. Let me explain what those things are. Train data set in the sense which is used for training the model. Okay, dev data set is that if we get some problems like overfitting or underfitting, we can do hyperparameter tuning or any kind of those methods which are used to reduce overfitting or underfitting problem. Those things we can do on dev dataset. And finally, we'll forecast our results on the test dataset. Okay, so here we'll be dividing 70% of our dataset into training set. Okay, so let's divide our dataset into input table and target table. Why do we need to do that? Because input table in the sense, what are all the inputs? Output table, it says whether he has heart disease or not. So the 13th column is the target one, so we'll be taking that to the target table, and in the input table we'll be taking remaining columns. Okay, so with the help of this syntax, we have splitted this 70% to train data, 20% to dev data, and 10% to test data. So before going into that thing, I think let me tell you what are all these things: true positives, true negatives, false positives, and false negatives. So first come true positive. True positive in the sense, the person who has heart disease is predicted to be heart disease. Like he has a heart disease, but we are also predicting that he has heart disease. Okay, true negative means he don't have heart disease, we are predicting that he don't have heart disease. These two things are correct values, and these two, false positive and false negative, they are errors. See, false positive, when actual class is no, the predicted class is yes. What we are doing, we are predicting that he has a heart disease, but actually he don't have heart disease. Okay, false negative also, actually he don't have heart disease, but we are predicting that he has heart disease. This is a bit confusing, so if we go through that once or twice, you'll be clear on that as well. And these things, like, we'll be analyzing the performance of our model based on some of the metrics like accuracy, precision, recall, FN score, ROC, and there are many more things. What are all these? Like, if that accuracy or precision, any of those values gets closer to 1, if those values are closer to 1, then our model is performing its best. Okay, we should make to that model to perform its best. Okay, so let's perform some of the classification techniques on our data set. Okay, so first let's start with decision tree classification. So here what we'll be doing, so everything, for everything we do have a syntax. We'll be importing this decision tree classifier. we are giving an object name DTC, and then we are fitting it to with the training data. Excuse me. Okay. We are fitting the training data, X train and Y train. X train contains the input values, Y train, it contains the output value. Output value in the sense 1 or 0. Okay. So then we are doing our predictions on our dev data as well. See the accuracy for the train data, we got accuracy as 1. Precision, everything is closer to 1. This is best. But when we do use that model on the dev data, see what we are getting: 0.78, 0.8. It is not compatible with the train data accuracy and precision. See, it is getting 1 and these are getting very low. This is the problem where the overfitting comes in picture. Overfitting in the sense it fits too well for our training set, but it is not fitting for the other data. Underfitting in the sense for our training data only, it is not fitting properly. Okay, this model results in overfitting. So we need to overcome that. So we can do hyperparameter tuning for that. So first, this is the decision tree classifier, and it has these, it takes these parameters. Okay, so here max depth is one of the parameter on which we can perform tuning operation. So let's iterate it over 1 to 10 and capture the value where it has less error. So if we plot that, this red one, see the red one, so where it is going to the less value, it is 8, right? So we will tune the max depth to 8. And then again, if we fit the training data set, see what we got. This time this is not 1, this is like 0.97, something like that. And if we do on dev data set, it is also good. We are getting 0.87, 0.8, 0.8. But earlier what we got for the training data, we got all ones, but for the dev data we got something like 0.78, like that. So this is the purpose of the dev dataset. So on the dev dataset, we can perform the tuning operation so that we can avoid the overfitting and underfitting problems. Okay. So this is one of the classification decision tree. But we should not do only one machine learning technique and say that this is the best model. We should do more than one, and we need to compare all those models and take the best model so that we can broadcast that model. Okay. So let's see with the random forest classifier. So it has these parameters. First, I have given n estimators and max depth values randomly. Let's see how that performs. So on the dev data, it is performing okay. But let's again tune it. See on the dev data, it is like 0.848586, right? Let's tune it based on the max depth value, iterated it around 1 to 10. See where the max depth is getting low, like in 1, in 3, 4, any of the values we can assign it to the max depth. And now I iterated the n estimators as well. So for the n estimators, see the where we are getting less value, we got at 50, and in between, and at the 100 and 150. From there it is constant. We can take any of the values for the n estimators. So here we have taken n estimators value as 150 and max depth to 3. So then we fitted the model. See that both are compatible now very well. Train data, accuracy, precision, everything is around 0.8 and something. And for the dev data also, it is very good. There is no problem of overfitting, nor the problem of underfitting. And next, coming to support vector machine. Support vector machine classifier, what does it do? It will try to create a plane so that the plane divides the data into two sets. So one side will be, data will be of one class, another side data will be of another class. What does it mean in our data set? One side it will be the patients with heart disease, another side the patients with no heart disease. With no heart disease, we don't even call them as patients, right? Okay. And then for support vector machine, and the same thing, like import that from sklearn and then fit that model on the train and dev set, it's okay. We are not performing any hyperparameter tuning here. And another like k nearest neighbor as well. And then logistic regression also the same thing. So here it is predicting good, so I didn't perform anything like tuning parameters as well. Logistic regression, when we go for logistic regression, so if we have a target with two classes, say yes or no, only yes or no, like if we have only 2 classes to be predicted, then we can go for logistic regression as well. Okay, so after doing all this, we can plot and check whether which model is performing the best, and then we can take. Okay, Vinita has raised her hand. Yes, Vinita, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, Vinita, I can hear you.
Can't we go for another regression techniques like linear or some other else?
Actually, regression techniques, we can't go for the linear as well. For linear thing, we need to have some proper correlation between all the variables with the target variable. We can't go for those things. We can
Okay.
go with the logistic regression, because regression techniques we can use for sales forecasting kind of thing. If we want to forecast something in the numerical format, we can go for that. Those values are more right, like it's not like only 2 values. If that is only 2 values, then we can go for logistic regression.
Okay, ma'am.
But for forecasting kind of thing, we'll be having more values, right? We can go for that.
Okay. If we have less data, then we can go for linear regression.
Not less data.
That
If we have
means
only two classes, we can go for logistic regression. If we have another kind of thing, we can use the regression techniques, not the classification techniques. Okay.
okay. Thank you.
Yes. And at the last, we plotted the confusion matrix. So as the name implies, it's confusing only. Okay, the first this 13 and 14, it shows this is 13 is true positive, 14 is true negative. True positive in the sense there are 13 people who has heart disease, and we predicted that they have heart disease, so this is correct one. So 14, the patients who don't have heart disease, we predicted that they don't have heart disease, so these two are correct, and these two are errors. Like if they have heart disease, we predicted like they don't have, and vice versa. So there are only 2 records where that is predicted wrongly, so we can say that our models are the best. Okay, best, not best, okay, better, we can say. So this is a overall demo, like where you can start with. You can get some idea on how to start with, and going deeper, we do have many techniques where we can dig in and learn. Like for missing values treatment only, we have many kinds of techniques, and you can be expert in that as well. And for outlier detection, there are many techniques. So for each and every point where we have seen in our demo, right? So everything we have many topics in that. So if you are interested on any particular topic, we can discuss on that in future as well. So for now, this is our demo, and let me know if you have any questions on this demo, or else let's continue with the PPT, and then finally we can go for the questions time. Okay, uh, are you able to see my PPT screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Rupesh, I told you, right? Not to call madam. Okay, it's okay, you can call me Gauri. Okay, everyone. So this is our manual thing, like we are doing in the Jupyter notebook, and we do have something like Azure machine learning. So there we have something like this kind of environment where we'll be having every options at the left side. So whatever thing we want to perform, everything will be having in the left side. So it is like a drag and drop environment. So then we can perform all these things, and then we can deploy that model as a web service, so that we'll be getting API REST APIs at the end, so that we'll be giving some input values to that API. So we'll be predicting that whether he has heart disease or not, something like that. So this is one of the best thing just developed by Microsoft, Azure ML Studio. Let me talk you some take you something to this, like this is the data set, credit card transaction. We have imported that data set. So on that data set, we have done descriptive statistic analysis, so that what we call like mean, median, standard deviation, everything will be getting through that. And after that, we are splitting the data set into 2. So this is one and this is one, so that we'll be getting two outputs. Okay, so we can do that into three as well. So where we'll be giving the percentage, when we click on this thing, we'll be getting in the right side, we'll be getting some pop-up menu, so that there we can fill in like how much percent we need to split. So after splitting that, let's say 70% we have split into train model. So we need to pass it to the train model, right? So we have taken decision tree classification. We have passed that in the first input, and then second input we have passed the training data. So it has trained, and that will be scoring, will be evaluating that score with the test model. This split data will split the data into two sets, right? The second set is the test model. So with that, with the help of that, we'll be evaluating our model. This is one of the best practice which is used in the industries as well, so that we can do like this, and we can broadcast it into the web service, so that in the REST APIs we can say like we can give some input, and then at the end we can get output. So anyone can do that, like the people who don't have knowledge on the data science also, they can do that. So this is on that Azure ML Studio, and let's see some of the applications where we are using these data science things as well. So in the social media, we're getting recommendation systems, right? So there we are using that, and in automation like self-driving cars also we are using that, and in the marketing, like selling things. Say for example, if the person buys bread, so along with the bread he can buy milk and jam, right? So those combinations and all we can analyze it there. And then in the travel we can predict whether the flight has any delay or not based on the climatic conditions, the data available with us. And in the healthcare we can say, if we'll be having some records with the patient, some symptoms, so medication which is given in the past, we can suggest that for the coming patient as well. And also we can do some predictions like whether he has diseases or not. And then in the credit cards, like we can with the help of existing data, we can say whether the person, we can give credits to that person or not, like whether he is paying bills on the correct time or not. And then so these are some of the things, like and then in the sales forecasting as well, we can forecast the future sales, and we can forecast the future demand as well. These are some of the best applications of the data science, and we do have many applications of that in our current era. So this is all about our session today. So hope you liked it. I mean, got some knowledge regarding these things. This told you like how to start with the data science. If you are interested in the data science, how to start. This is your first step. Like you can take this as a base, and you can explore more on these things as well. So any questions?
Having regarding how can we embed it, how can we embed it this ML with the cloud services? So we know that
So,
the
sorry, your voice is a bit low.
you know how to get cloud services can be embedded to the ML side.
Load services.
Yes, cloud services such as Amazon Web Services, cloud services.
Yes.
So how can we embed it with this ML so that we know that the cloud computing has more security, right? Like AWS services,
Yes.
Microsoft. So how can we get embedded with that?
Can you repeat it once again? Like I didn't get you.
So for the importing of the file, which such as we have been importing the file like the .csv file, right? Comma separated
Yes.
variable. So why
Yes,
can't
yes.
we get it imported from the directly from the cloud services, which is more secure than the local
Yes,
disk-on-write
we do.
system?
Yes. We do have something called web scraping, so that we can import directly from the web. So where that data is maintained in the cloud, right? So that we can import from there as well. This CSV is like whatever we have in our system. So from that place, we can access that CSV. We do have many forms where we can import our data. So from the web also, we can import the data. So that is another technique. So we can directly import from that as well. We can do that.
So with the help of this ML tools, can we? So if we updated here the data, so if we do classification and machine techniques, we modifying the data and finding such region. So it can be updated directly into the cloud platform.
We are publishing it to the web service, right?
Yes.
So it's nothing but we are pushing these data to the cloud, right?
If we do any modification here, can be there any modification directly in the
We need to do, yes. If we do any modification, then again we need to deploy the web service. Before deploying itself, we need to make sure like it is proper, and another time if we are doing any modifications, then again we need to deploy it once again to the web service.
I'm done with that. Anyone who has doubts can please raise their hand.
Sorry, your voice is not clear,
I'm
Rupesh.
done with it. Okay. Anyone who has any doubt can please raise their hand.
Yes, Harish has raised his hand.
Unmute.
Hello, Gauri ma'am. This is Harish. I have a doubt that
Hi,
uh,
Harish.
uh, what type of projects can we do and where we can do those projects.
On data science.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So for example, like loan prediction, we can do loan prediction project as well, like predicting loans. So and also we can do like sales forecasting project, like where there is one company, so it will be selling some goods, say for example Amazon. So we, based on our historical data, we can predict the future sales as well, and also we can predict the future demand of our projects as well, I mean products as well. And also in medicine field, right, we can predict the diseases based on the symptoms, and also we can give them a proper medication. There are many projects on that, to be frank. And also
Where,
this COVID-19. Okay. Okay, you are asking where we can get, right?
where
There is
we can,
one platform called Kaggle, Kaggle. So
okay,
that site will be getting all the data sets, and they'll be conducting several challenges so that we can go on and participate. So we can start from there as well. So my senior
okay,
suggested Kaggle for me, so that's really a best platform. And also we do have Analytics Vidya. That is one more thing. It is also performing some challenges kind of thing, so that we can go ahead and participate in that.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I have another doubt, okay, ma'am.
Sure.
Uh, coming from computer background, going to medical field, and does it feel any difficulties in that?
Actually, that's not a medical field. Okay,
Okay,
that is
pharmaceutical, I
that
thought.
is sorry. It is a West Pharmaceuticals Limited. That company.
Okay,
It is a manufacturing company, but we are offering software solutions to our own company as well. Okay,
okay,
so we
okay,
are developing web apps and apps which are used internally. We
okay,
are giving IT solutions only. Okay.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have another doubt. So,
Sure, Rupesh.
so why can't we use the Amazon Web Services to do this machine learning platform? Why cannot we use them? Because it is automated, and so we have many there, like Amazon Lex and
Yes,
Amazon Recognition.
but it is not offering ML service as of now, I guess.
I think it has been there, such as Amazon Recognition. So for the pattern recognition, so they have been using it. On Amazon Lex,
So okay.
for creating
I'm not clear on that actually, but this is the one which we are using, and this is one of the most popular thing. So where it is very easily like easy drag and drop options, everything is clear. It is user interactive. Like so, I think this is the one which is currently in use, widely used. Yeah, that's right. Like even Amazon will be offering that. Uh, I can see one like raised hand.
Hi, ma'am. This is Harsha.
Sure, hi Harsha.
Could you please share your LinkedIn profile or something so that we could connect you?
Sure. I think Rupesh has already connected. Yes, Rupesh?
I'll share the link in the group.
Okay. If you want, I can also share that. It is just Gauri Bolineni. If you type that, you'll be getting that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let me just show you. Any other questions? I can give my mail ID also. You can also connect me through mail or LinkedIn, anything as you require. And also, if you need any guidelines on, like, as sir said, like topper, right? Nothing like that. Whatever we have, right? Whatever we learn at the last moment. So it's just presentation skills. Like, how do we write in the exam? That matters a lot than what is the matter inside that, to be frank. So you can also follow that. It should have some matter, but the way we present, right? So that gives first impression to the one who corrects our paper. So this is my LinkedIn profile one. Okay, Gauri Bolineni just. And then regarding placements, right? If you want any assistance, I can walk you through that as well. Hello. Okay.
Licensing certifications for doing the ML. There are
Uh,
many courses.
we can, like, in the college days, you can start with the NPTEL certification courses, and also we do have many courses on Coursera kind of thing. IBM is offering free certification courses as well. In the Coursera, I guess, in the cognitive class, there are many certifications. Like, whatever certification you take, right, it should have some practical hands-on experience. Then only that certificate works. Okay. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I think we are good. Rupesh? Hello?
Stop the recording.
Sorry?
Can you stop the recording?
Stop. I didn't started recording.
No,
I think
I started.
I thought you.
Yes, I have started. Can you stop the recording?
Uh, Wait, just a second. I don't see option.
Done the recording. Can you stop it? Can you stop the recording?
Yeah, you can stop it. Okay. Okay.